I wrote this, I finished this 48 hours ago. In that, this is not working. And I started writing it less than a week ago. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do here. Had it in my mind, I was going to do another protest poem, if you'd seen any of that before. And had it in my head that it was going to be like projected onto here, and it was going to be dark and dismal things, and the Cranberries were going to be playing, and, and I couldn't write it. So this has happened. It's called The Meeting of Life. I sat down to talk with God today. It did not go as I expected. I had so many questions floating in my head about where I was going, when I would get there, and how, that I sat up on the top corner of my bed, and told God it was time to answer these questions, and answer them now. Her face appeared in front of me, beautiful, glowing and pure, a face that felt all too familiar, one side childlike, one mature. God cocked her head to one side. She smiled at me. She took a breath. She touched my cheek. Darling, I hear your plea. You are so strong. You are so brave. You have such love to give. You are so loved. Now, live. What the hell kind of bullocks was that? I screamed to the air she had left behind. Surely that's not it. The only bits of knowledge that came into your mind. And there I sat, on the top corner of my bed, all these questions still floating around in my head. I sat down to talk to my older self today. It did not go as I expected. Truly, God, as all-powerful as she is, has lots to deal with, I said to myself, and therefore, I need someone closer to my issues, someone who's travelled on my path before. It's not God's fault she doesn't have better advice, so perhaps my future Gemini self will have a bit more precise. And then I saw her face in front of me, beautiful, glowing and pure, a face that looked all too familiar, whiter hair and love lines, you know, she's mature. My aged face cocked her head to one side, and she smiled my own smile back to me. She took a breath. She touched my cheek. Darling, I feel your plea. You are so strong. You are so brave. You have such love to give. You are so loved. Now live. Now, I don't like to be rude to my elders, but what the fuck was that? I yelled back to the nothingness that she had left behind. You know what I was asking. You know what needed to be told. How could you be so unkind as to leave me here in the dark? And there I sat, on the top corner of my bed, all these questions still floating around in my head. I sat down to talk with my younger self today. Did not go as I expected. There I was, the path before me still covered up, my head buzzing, my mind a tizzy, when a voice shocked me with, "They're all grown up?" It was me, well, not me, my younger me. She had appeared like from some memory, and suddenly her thoughts, my thoughts, were inside my head, and I could hear her so vividly. Her questions were my own. The plea, mine again. I understood what she wanted from me, and I was about to speak it, but then I realized, how could I? How could I truly explain that life is sometimes cruel? Love can bite. That some days you'll never want to breathe again. That doors will shut, time will fly, that you will believe the best of you is gone. But that none of that will matter, because you are stronger than it all. And then I felt God's hand pressing me on. I only had mere seconds left to relay all of this to me. My sweet young face looked up, desperate to know the results of our inquiry. So taking all of myself in, I cocked my head to one side. I smiled back at me. I took a deep breath. I touched my soft cheek. My darling girl, I understand your plea. And the only words that came into my head were the only ones that mattered. And so I said, you are so strong. You are so brave. You have so much love to give. You are so loved.